This is Harry Bishop's presentation for my individual project and for the M3 grade for the HNC in construction and build environment. The project objectives were to build a new educational building on an existing area using the most efficient and sustainable resources possible, use the newest and most environmentally friendly process and technology through primary and secondary research. We found this out. Reduce use of fossil fuels and the most energy efficient solutions available. We should decide on how specific we want to be if we follow the SMART objectives. We can work out backwards to work out best as long as they're aligned. The end users of this project will be students, both male and female, the lecturers. It will be primarily a young occupancy due to the fact that it's an educational building. You would typically find students to be of the younger variety. Times that it will be occupied are weekdays and rarely at weekends, and it's 8 AM till 8 PM most days, so it's quite a wide variety of times and use. End goals are to be quite trendy, adventurous with the design and build of it. It's to be social, as students are typically seen to be quite social, and green and sustainable as possible. Just want to make sure that it says, as we said before, sustainable and efficient as possible. Firstly, we're going to look at the cladding that would go on the building, so the pros and cons of that and how the research went through primary and secondary research. The pros were that we looked into wooden cladding, for the external use. It's quite aesthetic and it's quite good for insulation. Pros for it are it's cheap, it's quite easily made. It's one of the cheaper variety solutions, what we found. Easily manipulated, so you can cut it quite easily, you can bend it, you can shape wood into what you want without there being too much hassle on site. It's cradle to grave friendly, so when you are from first making it, okay, that's not so friendly, but it's easily quite easy for getting rid, as it rots and decomposes quite well. Cons are it's bad for insulation and performance. The U values on it weren't very good as compared to the other composite. Sorry about that. Not quite up to standards with technology. Summary is great for aesthetics, but it doesn't have the performance for the energy efficiency that we're quite looking for in this build. A modern builder is looking for quite good insulation to lower the energy costs of you'll be used to heat the building, keep it cool, etc. Composite cladding, again, it's for external surface and its aesthetic and insulation purpose. Factory made, to be made to order. If you come up with a good plan, if it's well planned, you can quite easily get this made to fit just for a quick installation. It'll pretty much fly up as soon as you get it there, as long as it's all measured right. It's good, has great performance reviews. The insulation and stuff on it works well. It's quite durable for the weather, weathering from wind and abuse. It's going to be external, so it'll take a lot of hits, but yeah, you get quite good use out of that. It can be made from recycled materials. Metals is quite an easily recycled material. It won't decompose like wood would, but it is easily to manipulate. You see all sorts of things being manipulated now with metal into like statues, cladding, furniture. You can do all of that. Cons are it's easily damaged, so if you get a chip or a dent in it, it's easily seen. It's not waterproof unless it's further engineered. So from my research, I found out that it's quite easy to get water leakage in it. But if you are to engineer it a bit further, put some seals and stuff like that in it, then you'll quite easily engineer that out. But again, it's not ideal to have to do that. You'd rather something that can. Great for aesthetics, as it can look quite modern. You can give it rustic looks, you can give it all sorts of different looks with say powder coating or a little bit of like bump grade, little holes in it or something like that. There's a ton of stuff you can do with that. And it's got great performance values. Like I said, you can get well insulated. It lasts a long time, things like that. Composite cladding was the way that we went here. That's what would have been my decision. It can be cheap, it can be mass ordered, it can be pre-designed to be quickly engineered. and it's also got an ease of installation benefits and insulation. The U value isn't that better on its own. Heating and ventilation was the next thing that we was looking at. Heating and air conditioning, underfloor heating. Purpose of it is position of it is obviously on the floor. It's going to be under your carpets, under your wooden flooring, say whatever you're using there. Pros are it's readily available. There's minimal wasted heat as it coming from the floor and heat rises. You'll quite easily find that it will heat a room, whereas say a radiator, you'll heat that corner of the room, but it takes a little bit longer for it to go and it wastes a little bit. There's less energy required as it's electrically heated. It's a bit more sustainable, it's a bit more eco-friendly, and it's quite easily installed. Just rolled out. It comes in rolls. Lay it across the carpet, lay it across the floor, put a little layer over the top of it, and then the flooring goes over the top of that there. The cons are you lost the floor height, so floor to floor heights. It's not a massive issue because quite often now you get false ceilings or false floorings, and that's all compensated in there anyway. It's easily damaged on installation. If someone drops something on it and breaks it, then it's a whole roll messed up. And it's not the cheapest, to be honest with you. But yeah, it's great for minimal energy output and the performance of heating entire rooms. It can be costly though, unfortunately. Air conditioning is wall mounted. It typically draws in a source of air from outside and blows it out. Pros is effective performance for cooling. Very good at cooling. Great reviews for that. As anyone knows, you walk in an air conditioning place, hits you straight away when you walk in. And it's a fresh air source. Like I say, it draws it from outside, filters it through, and then puts it in. Cause skin irritation, dermatitis, stuff like that. It is expensive to run. Requires a lot of electricity to run air conditioning, and it requires a lot of maintenance, yearly maintenance. Whereas with the underfloor heating, you'll typically not maintain that as it's covered over. Great for cooling purposes, is not very good for the heating. You'd have to probably install a central heating system as well, which again is more costly. It's an expensive solution, but good for fresh air and becoming rather common in places. Typically, you might even find both of these in a place, to be honest. As I said here, there's a mixture of both, and best as it is. There is no simple solution. The building, in a country such as England, it can be hot, can be cold. You need both. You can't just open the windows to cool a place in the modern day, to be honest with you. Transporting people around a building, the options we looked at here was an escalator, so getting a staircase put in, a mobile staircase as such. Only travels you to one place to the next, and it's quite big on space. Pros anyhow are that it's versatile, so you can have it position it in different places. Good performance reviews. Everyone knows how to use an escalator. It's quite simple, and it doesn't. It's popular, still usable in emergency situations. So if there was an emergency, like a fire or something, whereas something like a lift would be taken out, a escalator would still be able to be used. Not ideal, and you still need an emergency exit, but yeah, it does require maintenance. Risk assessments will be required for them, and constant plan, do, check, act type thing. But yeah, it's quite a good way from transport from one level to another. Typically, a college isn't going to be a high-story building, so it's a good solution to keep people from congregating in an area, but it does come with the added risk of moving parts. The elevator would be the next one. It's positioned as in the lift shaft. The pros of it are you can move many people at once, as can the escalator, to be honest, but quick over many levels, so you can go, if you have got like a 4 or 5 story building, you're not going to have to take up as much space, and it can get many people up straight away. It's durable, and you can transport disabled people, whereas an escalator you wouldn't be able to transport disabled people. Cons are unusable in emergency procedures. They just shut them off. They're closed down just in case there's a fire in the lift shaft or something like that, because that's non-negotiable. Extremely expensive and not very versatile. For summary, it's good for aesthetics and has come in many styles. You can also transport rubbish and stuff down them a bit easier if you're looking for another pro, but it does require again yearly maintenance and stuff like that. And with this building not being a high-rise building, I don't believe it's necessary to implement a lift as the main source of transportation. The versatility of an escalator is superior to the lift. However, taking into consideration disabled people, you would need to make a source of access for higher levels. construction over the years has been lacking in technology, considered an old dirty industry, dirty trade with a lot of things, but recently there has been a big uptake in simply in the use of technology. I mean, even in health and safety now, you see that principles of prevention take into consideration technological aids. Everyone's looking to make the most sustainable and cheap way. It's a good thing, in my opinion. The construction industry, like I said, it says there, it accepts responsibility for 40% of CO2 emissions, but it's looking to reduce that in a big way. And if you can do that with technological advancements, again, the ones coming out recently with, say, solar panels, you've got anything cladding. You can even get cladding now that's got solar panels built into it. I think Tesla are making some. There's ways to improve all the time, and you see the fully sustainable buildings now. That I think it was Denmark they'll built in. Construction industry is striving in a big way to try and improve, and I think, in my personal opinion, they're doing so, and they've turned a corner, and it's really good to see. It's quite a feat, to be honest. Quite impressive. And yeah, that was the individual project as by myself, Harry Bishop. Thanks for watching. I hope that's okay.